Hey, Trip Zero here, Troll Zero, and with another episode of Trolling the Internet, and we're going to take a look at Dill's claim that anarchy cannot exist in a capitalist society. If you can see here, I've actually already replied. Don't look at my reply. Don't look at it. Close your eyes. But even if you do read it, it requires a little bit further explanation. This claim depends on your definition of anarchy or what you consider fundamentally a ruler. But before we go into definition of anarchy, let's look at the definition of capitalism or a capitalist society first. Capitalism is the ownership, private ownership of the means of production. The means of production is anything you use to produce something else. So if I have a computer, it's not necessarily capital. It's not necessarily a means of production unless I'm using it to produce something else. So if I'm using my computer to write software and I'm selling that, the computer is now considered a capital good. If I'm just browsing the internet, watching movies, playing games, whatever, using it for my personal entertainment, that's not capital. I'm not producing anything else. I'm not using it as a means of production. So it depends on what is a capital good or what is the means of production depends on your usage. Now, if I were to produce software and sell it myself, a socialist or a Marxist would have no issue for that because I'm selling it and I get the full value of my labor in the price of the software. I'm not sharing that price with somebody else. In another situation, if a friend of mine came to me and said, "Hey, I broke my computer. Can I borrow? I need to write some software. It's due tomorrow. I'm going to sell it. I'm going to make bank. Can I use your computer? I'll give you a Mountain Dew, or I'll give you $10, right? Something like that." And I say, "Sure, you can use my computer for the weekend. I can just use my phone or whatever. You can use it. I'm not using it." And so he uses my computer and he gives me in exchange a Mountain Dew. A socialist or Marxist would consider that situation exploitative. I'm exploiting, or I'm actually charging a rent for his usage of my property, right? Or not technically charging him, he's offering it. It's an arrangement we both agreed on, but that is, he's not getting, my friend's not getting the full value of his software because he had to give me Mountain Dew, right? He lost some of the value. That was a cost to him. He had to pay me a rent. You can consider it a rent. So, a non-Marxist or a pro-capitalist, an anarcho-capitalist or a market anarchist would consider that just a voluntary arrangement, right? That's legitimate. Like he agreed to give me Mountain Dew. I agreed to let him use my computer. I don't care what he does. Maybe he's browsing the internet. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's making software. I don't really care. I have the Mountain Dew, right? That's a really, it would be hard to actually find in the real world a socialist or Marxist that would complain about that voluntary arrangement. What they are going to complain about is, monopoly guy with a big tall hat owns a factory in a town. It's the only factory in town, and if you don't work for that factory, you're probably going to starve. And so he banks on the fact that that in nature is brutal, it's hard, the person's going to be worse off fending for himself than working in the factory. Therefore, he can get away with paying them less than the full value for their labor, and he claims some of the profits for himself. They would complain about that. That's not always the situation, though, however, right? Because sometimes I actually could. I'm not going to starve to death if I don't work for him. I can probably start my own business, work for myself contract per se, for other companies. Maybe I could have enough land acquired that I could, feed my family just by growing food or something, right? So it's not always black and white, right? What is an exploiting situation or not? But I think they would oppose it either way. Like if you work for somebody and rent their capital and you're not getting the full value of labor, and some dude sitting up in a chair doing nothing, another specific, that doesn't always happen, right? But another example of, that person sitting there doing nothing is getting the profits for my labor. He's not necessarily working. So it's not black and white. It's more difficult than that. So anyway, if you're an anarchist, socialist anarchist, and you believe that a capitalist is a type of ruler because he owns the capital good and the factory or whatever, the computer, and he gets to define the rules of that thing, and he says who works there and how they work there and how the terms of usage of that capital equipment, and excludes people and includes others, then he is a illegitimate authority or an illegitimate ruler or a coercive ruler, and you can't legitimize coercive rulers in an anarchy according to them, according to the socialist, anarcho-socialist, and have an anarchy. So in that perspective, from their perspective, this is absolutely true. You can't have capitalism and anarchy. But the flip side is, if you only consider illegitimate or positively coercive arrangements as illegitimate. So for example, both an anarcho-capitalist or a market anarchist and a socialist anarchist would both consider the government illegitimate because it coerces the population, charges rents for owning, just living, charges rents for transacting, call it taxes. So both sides would consider that illegitimate, but the market anarchist would say, unless I'm positively coercing you, like maybe if I don't let you into my house, maybe you die, I don't know, but it's my non-action to not let you into my house. I'm not positively acting against you. I'm not going out there and shooting you. I'm letting you be responsible for yourself, or letting you, the letting you die would be the dramatic way of putting it, right? Ron Paul wants people to die if they don't have health care. No, I'd rather people had health care, but just because I don't do something positive to affect that doesn't mean I want them to die, right? It's like there are millions of people dying all over the world, and my non-action, I can't be held accountable in a dispute for my non-action in saving them. Does that make sense? So this statement, anarchy cannot exist, depends on those opposing views. Like, what is a legitimate rule or legitimate authority? What is an illegitimate authority, and why? And hopefully I made that clear of both sides, that the socialist anarchist would consider even some negative coercion, like me not acting. Like if you don't work in my factory, you might die. I'm not going to, so that would be a type of negative coercion, versus positive coercion where I'm saying, if you don't work in my factory, I'm going to shoot you. See the difference? Positive, negative coercion. So the socialist would consider both the same, maybe, or both illegitimate, and then the market anarchist would say, only positive actions you can only be accountable for positive actions. Only positive actions that harm other people are illegitimate. Hopefully that helps. So my answer was, it totally depends on your definition of what a ruler is, if a capitalist is a ruler, and if he's an illegitimate ruler, because a socialist does accept that there are rulers. Like if I have personal property, you can't just come and take my personal property. That would be illegitimate, even though I'm a ruler technically of my personal possession. So they wouldn't accept. They do accept some rulers, just not illegitimate ones. They consider illegitimate, like the state, the government, or a capitalist. That's it for now. Hope you liked it. If I got anything wrong, if you're a socialist, please correct me if I got anything wrong. Likewise, if you're a market anarchist, you thought I could do something better, let me know. Cheers. Troop Zero out.